So, Morgan, every once in a while I mess up on the beginning of a show, and this is one of those days. Welcome, folks, to How's Your EPresence? This show, we talk about everything that has to do with social media and technology. We're actually going to get into some technology stuff today. Our goal is trying to provide content for you that'll help you do business better. I am Mark Galvin, your host. This show is produced by EPresence, and we're thrilled you are here today. Be sure to check out our YouTube channel. We've got tons of content out there that you may find very interesting. We'd love for you to subscribe. So if you have not run across our channel in the past, we would love for you to pop in, hit that subscribe button so you know when we go live, and you can send us chats just drop it right in the chat box on whatever platform you're on. It'll pop up right on our screen, and we can serve it up to our guest, if you will. So today, what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about the cloud and cybersecurity. We're going to get into business hardware, the do's and don'ts of business hardware, and securing your remote teams, because we know that is happening all day long, every day. So I think that you'll find that today is a great show. Who is our guest? Our guest is James Fair with Executech. He has 35 years of experience in the IT industry. He's got 30 years of experience in leadership within the IT industry. Started as an entry-level technician. He moved all the way up into a senior VP level at an IT firm. Today, he teaches other IT professionals and leaders how to be their best. He creates high-performance teams through people-first focused leadership. So we're awfully thrilled that James is here today. If he says anything that you're interested in, go ahead and send us a question. Right in the page that you're on, just plug it right there in the chat box, and we will pass it on to James to see if he can answer that question for you. If you're joining us from anywhere, we'd love for you to share where you're joining us from. Just drop in the city, state, or country. That'd be great, and we'd love for you to join us that way. Well, enough about all this fun stuff. Let's see if we can find James out there and have him join us. James, welcome. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, Mark. Thank you for the invitation. I'm honored to be here.
Outstanding. Well, I am thrilled you are here today. You and I had a great conversation before the show about all the IT tech stuff that's out there. You understand all this, but it's not necessarily exactly what you do, so to speak. So what do you do, and why do you do it?
What do I do? A couple things I do that I'm really passionate about. I love teaching new leaders. That is so exciting for me to help people become, better leaders, better managers for their teams. I have a belief that if I can create a better leader or help someone be better, then they're going to be better for their teams, and their team members are going to be happier, and they're going to go home and create more happiness in their family. So it's kind of a ripple effect. So I'm really big on teaching leaders how to be new leaders. When I started leadership, there was no manual, there was no instruction guide, right? I just had to wing it for the last 30 years. So I want to take that 30 years of experience and share that with people and help them shortcut a lot of the trouble and tribulations that I had to go through to get there.
Oh,
and then,
that's
of
awesome.
course, thank you. And of course, I'm in IT. A big part of what I do is IT. So I love to help organizations prepare themselves for, hopefully it never happens, but some eventuality, right? Some worst case scenarios, prepare themselves against attacks.
Big, right? Especially these days.
Yeah, these days, unfortunately, it's a big part of what we do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish that were not true. I wish I could put those folks out of business, but that's really that's what I love to do.
That is so cool. Now, I think what's interesting here is here's a good example today. There is certainly a concern, if I was sitting in the Ukraine, that my business may be attacked, right? So I do think that there's a little bit of interesting things going on there in that part of the world. So, there's a few things that I've got actually here that I'd love to throw at you, and a lot of it has to do with the cloud, right? There's a lot of businesses doing business in the cloud. We're doing it, as a matter of fact, in the cloud. Not only do we manage social media, which is, of course, in the cloud, but all of our operational systems are in the cloud. Is it a concern when, can I say this? I mean, honestly, hey, it's with a service. So let's say it's with Google Docs. I'll get all my stuff with Google. Aren't they protecting my data? And if they're not, what do I need to do to make sure that I'm not in a bad spot, so to speak?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So there are kind of two schools of thoughts of this, right? We've got the kind of older school thought, which is I've got my server in my office. I know where it is. I can secure it. And I'm taking care of that thing. It's not
Right,
some mystery server in the cloud. The flip side of that is that now I have to worry about internet and power and upgrading the thing and making sure it doesn't go down and all these other challenges we're going to run into having our own physical server.
right.
We have seen organizations that are no longer around because of fire, flood, theft, and things like that. So moving stuff to the cloud has some huge advantages. There's no doubt. We can spin up resources on the fly, right? We can add things to it. We can remove things from to it. We can turn it off at night if we're not using it. So we can a lot of control. And they've this is some big cloud company, so they've got duplicate power, they've got duplicate internet, or triple, quadruple, how many, however many. So if something goes down, even worst case scenario, if that whole area goes down, they'll automatically shift your server to a new environment. So
Right.
it's very seamless to you. You'll never see anything. And if you think about it, I mean, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, these folks, they don't want to be hit in the cloud. They don't want people's stuff to go down because if it did, it's going to look bad on them. They're going to lose billions of dollars in revenue. So
And
they are spending. Go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
isn't there, and they have resources that
Yeah,
if there's a center that they sort of have some sort of, and they see the data before we do, they know, okay, this center's having some problems. Can't they shift resources better than I could,
absolutely.
right? Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, on the fly. And you'll never even notice it as the user. You may experience a slight pause, but what happened is your entire server got shifted to a whole new environment, and
Right.
you're never going to know it.
Yep.
And these
Yep.
folks, they're going to spend millions on security to make sure that that platform stays as secure as possible.
Right.
Now, that being said, most of the time we are syncing files like, let's say, Google Drive or OneDrive or something like a tool like that. We're syncing files between your desktop machine and the cloud.
Yep.
So if your desktop gets infected, you're going to copy those infected files to the cloud, and it's going to overwrite whatever is there.
Hmm.
So, despite the fact that we feel more confident, there's this big backing by some large organizations doing this, we still want to make sure we're backing stuff up, even though it's in the cloud. I know people are like, oh, it's in the cloud, I don't have to worry about it anymore. I recommend backing up your stuff in the cloud because if you end up inadvertently overwriting that data, they don't keep multiple copies of it for you in most
Good.
environments. So,
Good. So a big thing here is it just a quick recap is to have a local something that's backing up your stuffs. Can I say syncing? Is that the right word? Syncing something
thinking, yeah,
locally? All right.
yeah,
And even though, so here's something I do like, and I find solace in this. Maybe I shouldn't. And that is that, so I have a local drive, and it automatically syncs with the
yep,
cloud drive of the service that I use. And so it appears, and I can actually see its little icon on the bottom of my screen. It shows that it's syncing to the cloud. But I should also have that data copied on a local backup drive, right?
well, in this case, you've got multiple copies, but so what happened if your local copy got infected? So worst case scenario, you get attacked, a file gets corrupted or changed, that change gets written to your cloud drive. Now both of them are corrupted. So
Got it.
yeah, some additional level of protection is unfortunately necessary.
All right, cool. Is there, should I ever be worried that my files could get attacked on the cloud? So do these services typically provide some sort of level of protection so that someone who's trying to attack the cloud, i.e. my data in the cloud, do they provide some sort of protection there?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I'm going to
Yeah.
say yes and no. So let's take Azure, for example, a Microsoft server you can go spin up. I can do dumb
Azure,
things with
is that
that.
really what it's called?
Yeah, well,
Azure?
that's good. Yeah, Azure, Azure. Yeah,
All right, cool.
it's like AWS. It's Microsoft's version of virtual machines you can spin up in the cloud.
Okay,
And
good.
just like my server in the office, I can set it up badly. I can set it up in a way that would be open for attacks, right? And I can
Yeah,
certainly do the same thing in the cloud. So unless you've got someone, the staff and resources to appropriately secure that thing, you can certainly create a condition where it could be attacked. Yes. Now, overall, they're protecting the platform absolutely, and they're watching against things like that, and they're going to do their best to prevent you from doing silly things, but
Okay.
it is not bulletproof because you can shoot yourself in the foot, certainly.
So what's an example, and there's probably lots of these, but give me an example of what someone could do as a mistake, setting it up. You say setting it up poorly.
Yeah.
What are one of those things that that people could screw up on?
Well, I mean, there are some obvious ones like we could not change the administrator password. We could leave things as defaults, right? In the case of, and I know we're going to get to this a bit later, but firewalls. Firewalls are a big part of what we do. It's the single level of protection between the rest of the internet, i.e., the attackers, and
Right.
our environment. And you set up firewalls, whether it's on the cloud or on your in your office on premise, it's going to be the same thing. You want to set up a firewall, and you could end up inadvertently opening up, we call them holes in the firewall. You could allow traffic from the external world into your internal world if you didn't set up the firewall correctly.
So let's jump to firewalls.
Okay.
And that is, you're right. That's it's on our list of stuff to talk about. What is a firewall, first of all?
So a firewall is, um, let's see how to put this. A firewall is, consider it like, some kind of a barrier between all those attackers out there on the internet, right? The entire internet is all plugged together. So good people, bad people, everybody all together out there in this giant world. And you plug into the internet with your device, your office, your home network, whatever it is. Now everyone out there has access to some degree to your network, or can at least see you now on the internet.
Right.
So we want to protect. That's where we want to put the first level of protection, and to some degree, the strongest level of protection is there, because whatever the attackers, there's these bad guys out there who are out there scanning this giant worldwide internet, looking for people who've set things up wrong. So our firewall then will block things like scans. It'll prevent them from being able to reach inside your network. It really blocks incoming traffic from the outside world. It's
Got
probably
it.
first step. Advanced firewalls, so what we call DPI or deep packet inspection, get a little in the weeds here. Uh,
This is good.
Next gen firewalls, they will actually take every packet that comes from that outside world, pull it apart, look inside, make sure the contents are not malicious, and then send it on its way if they're not. So those are particularly important, and I recommend those for every office environment.
DPI. I've never heard that before. Deep packet inspection.
Yep.
Sweet. This so all right. So many teams are working remote today. So many people are working remote. It is not out of the ordinary to see that.
Yeah.
If one of my team members is using Comcast, I think you and I talked about servers. So I am with AT&T. They've got a modem. You're
Right.
with Comcast. I think you told me.
Yeah.
So the modems, and they're still called modems, right? Even though they're not
They
necessarily
are.
connected
Yeah.
to the internet. Okay, or phone lines. I used to think modems
Right.
were only phone lines, but they're not. So a modem translates the information that's coming across whatever device it may be, a phone line or a fiber optic cable or a cable line, and
Yep.
converts it to data that we can use. Is that what the purpose of a modem,
Yeah. Essentially,
more or
that
less?
really is it. It's going to convert from your coax cable into Ethernet.
Got it. And those services come with, or that modem from Comcast comes
Yeah.
with a um, a firewall. A lot of them are promoted. We have great security. Should
Sure.
we depend exclusively on that firewall?
No, please don't. It is a firewall. I will
Right.
agree, and like my Comcast modem has, and it's actually a router and a firewall, so it's a multi-purpose unit, but we typically call it a modem.
Okay.
It has 4 levels of security settings I can set. Right, none at all, a little bit, medium, and high. Um, but that's a pretty big switch, right? There's not a whole lot of granular control there.
Right.
They are certainly not deep packet inspection type firewall. So it is not going in there looking at the packets, make sure there's no viruses in there and sending them on its way. So, for the home network, your average user, sure, it's going to be okay. It's not ideal, but it is okay. But
Okay.
for any kind of corporate environment, it is not sufficient in any way whatsoever.
Interesting. And it's really because of the exposure that comes with that, right? Because what we're talking about is, all right, the home network. I guess the thing that's most what you're trying to protect on your home network is potential personal financial information. Um, do they still, what was the thing that they used to use local servers to store data, and they were doing it all over these homes? That, what is that called? That was there was a ship attached to that. And that's what what was the early music trading site
Like
called?
Napster and
Napster. Isn't that what that Napster did? They used to store everybody's music on everybody's different computers, and you had to give rights to them to do that. That sounds really scary, but today I can't imagine that happening today. But I guess
it still goes on
does.
today. Oh yeah, it still goes
Gosh.
on. There's no doubt about it.
So, but in a business, you have your revenue is attached to data, and so you've got to make sure you're protecting that. All right, so here we go. Everybody's working from home in an organization, and and maybe they decided to do it full time, or heck, a lot of companies are doing this. They have landing pads for companies for their employees. They come in and they land 2 days a week. What should I do as a company owner for those associates of mine that are working from home the 3 days a week to secure their firewall on their modem? I need to step it up. I need to get a DPI on there. Is there a way to do that on my own, or is the only way to do it is to call a firm like yours? That's kind of a catch 52. I hate to put it that way, but
no,
I'd
that's
love
okay.
your thoughts.
So in most environments, it's not going to make sense for you to purchase a firewall for everyone's home network. As much as I would love organizations to do that, it's probably not feasible. So a couple different options. Most instead set up VPN connections or virtual private networks.
Good.
Okay. It's a secure connection from my desktop machine or my laptop machine that hopefully you've provided me. I believe that all organizations should provide the hardware that people use, so it's separate from the home device that's used by the kids or the spouse, that kind of thing. And that sets up a secure tunnel between that device and your office network or the cloud in some cases.
Yep.
So that even if a hacker were in the network, that traffic is all encrypted and it's not something they can pick apart and see. It's all encrypted end to end.
Okay.
Alternatively, and what we're seeing a big trend toward, and it does require some level of sophistication and certainly probably at least a mid-size, if not large organization, is we set up a virtual desktop environment. We're going to give you more acronyms. It's acronym day here, folks. VDI, right? Virtual desktop infrastructure. So that is, no matter what, I can take any device I want, my phone, a tablet, my laptop, my home device, whatever, and I'm going to connect to a server in the cloud where my desktop actually is running. So just like we have virtual servers, we're going to have virtual desktops. My Windows 10 machine or my Windows 11 machine is running in the cloud now. And I'm going to attach to that Windows 11 device. And now when I attach to it, I'm not sending network traffic back and forth. I'm only sending screen data, the mouse clicks, the changes in the screen itself. So therefore, we have completely barred that thing. Even if my home device gets completely infected, it's never going to touch that thing because I'm only sending screen data back and forth and mouse clicks and things like that. Maybe sound. So virtual desktops are, and banks have been doing this forever. Other secure environments have been doing this for a long time. But as the price of cloud computing has gone down, we're seeing now a trend toward moving to that. It's much easier to do. It works great in a work from home environment. People can grab any device they want, like I said, their tablet, their iPad, whatever they want to use, and connect to this device that's now in the cloud and properly secured by the organization.
I think it's really interesting. So I did not know this. I never realized that the VDI environment is, so no real data is going back and forth, just images. Right. And it's probably harder for a computer system to grab that digital data because it's just images back and forth.
Right.
But just from the user's perspective, to them it's just like the regular operating system.
Yeah, it'll be a little sluggish compared to being directly on the device itself.
How sluggish?
You click, you wait a second. You click, you wait a second. But it can be pretty close to real time. It for most users, it's probably not going to be terribly noticeable. For your power users, are going to be like, I had to wait a second for it to show up. But wherever your server is in the cloud, things are still measured in milliseconds, regardless of how far away it is. So
right.
less than a second typically. So it's not too noticeable. I just want to set the proper,
Oh yeah,
expectations here.
that's good. So our producer is Morgan Wood. She would notice it. I totally see this. We have a weekly meeting, and she's like, "I'm just gonna tell you, it is slow, slow, slow." And and for users that are like you say, those power users, they're working so many things.
Right.
It could be. It's just something to know. For your average users, it's great. But if you have a power user, maybe you put them on a VPN because that's probably is the VPN actually faster? Because I've seen when I do a VPN on my computer, I do see that it can slow down a little bit. So, as a level or
Yeah.
degrees of slowness, so to speak, this very very technical language here, that
Right.
a VPN is it faster than a VDI?
Typically not. So, one thing is I'm going to click and I'm
I'm
going to see the
nailing you down
screen
on this. I love
changes.
it.
Right. No, no, no. You're good. I love these questions. This is great. And these are questions everyone's going to be asking. So this is
Right.
perfect. So in that virtual desktop environment, I'm going to click on something and it's going to take a half a second before that thing interacts with me. The screen change appears on my screen.
Right.
In a VPN environment, I'm clicking on things that are actually on my screen, so I get real-time feedback. Now, the connection has to go across the internet across this encrypted connection to the server, make the change, and come back onto my machine. Then I see the change. So loading files, that kind of thing, will be slightly longer in a VPN environment, but the click interactions will be more real-time that we're used to. Does
I got it.
that answer
Okay.
your question? Okay.
No, I think so. That's great. Absolutely.
All right.
That does a lot. I love VPNs. I love it on my phone or my iPad when I'm at a coffee shop or something like
Smart.
that, just to
Thank you.
secure. Yeah, because I do remember an example many years ago. And I don't know if this is true or not. That you go into a coffee shop and somebody sets up, they could do some software, and that software can monitor all the data going across the network there at that coffee shop, and they could just record it.
Yep.
They're not watching, but then they get back home and they start looking through those data. And it's like, oh, there's Mark's password for his email program because it had to send it while it was pulling email. And my
Right.
favorite, I love the email password question. So do you know the password to your email? Well, nobody does because you plug it in once you forget it. But
That's right.
but through that, if you're not on a VPN, people can record that and then get access to your email and they can do whatever. I mean, there's so much information that we share on email today. It's actually scary. Oh, dude, I got a question for you. This is not on the script.
Let's do it.
I get a text 3 times a week, 4 times a week, maybe even 5 times a week.
Yes.
And the text says, "Hey, thanks for paying your AT&T bill.
Yep.
Click here for a special thank you." Well, I am not with AT&T.
Right. Right.
Right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
so, I look at the text and there's a URL and they want me to click it. What are they doing? What are they trying to do to my phone by clicking that? What do you
They
think?
are trying to get you to click on a program that will give them access to it.
So they could use my phone to do whatever, see what's on my phone, monitor my
Eh,
phone. I've heard the CIA do this, have done this to their targets, right? They
Yeah.
somehow get them to click a link and then they can watch everything on their phone. So ultimately, I mean,
Right.
that's what could be happening. They're seeing everything on my phone. That's pretty scary.
That is pretty scary. It's a little more sophisticated to take a little, you'd have to accept the permission changes nowadays because like um, Apple
Okay.
changed it so that any app you install has to list the permissions it's going to require, and then you have to hit accept. But most people aren't going to bother reading that. They're just going to go, okay, and click accept.
Whatever. Well, yeah, I
Yeah, in
mean,
which case, yeah, full permissions.
it's amazing to me how many scams are out there. It's amazing to me that I still get that email from my long lost uncle who lives on the tip of Saudi Arabia, who's I didn't know this, but they're going to give me millions of dollars.
Right.
I am amazed that people can fall for that. People don't fall for that. You don't have a
No.
long lost uncle on the tip of Africa or the tip of, for that matter, California that wants to give you $1 million. Like, come on.
Yeah,
See
I
somebody,
read a statistic. 2 out of about 1 million people will actually click on those things.
and that's all they need, right?
That's all it's at. Oh, take one time, you make 10,000 off somebody. Boy, you just paid for all those spam messages you just sent. So
Now,
unfortunately, yes.
here's the flip side, and this is a
Okay.
true story. A woman in Michigan, this happened, I heard this on the news just yesterday. A woman in Michigan bought a lottery ticket on her computer and she got an email saying that she won $3 million. The
Okay.
email went to her spam folder.
Oh.
She's going through her spam folder. She sees it and she's like, what? And it's legit. So
Oh.
the point is, if you get an email, number one, and I may be stealing your thunder if I'd
No,
love
go
this.
for it.
This is so important. If you get an email from someone and it looks suspicious, the number one way you can tell if it is suspicious is look at the URL of the email, right? So if James sends me an email and it says, and it says, Mark, I want to give you $1 million for being on your podcast today. And it says james.fair.lovelyevents.com. Well, that's not James. It's going to be James Fair at
Executech.
executech.com, right?
Right.
It's got to, and here's the thing. Check the URL. You can always go in and type in executech.com, see if it takes you to a place. That's the number one thing. That just check those. Oh, it drives me crazy. It makes my heart beat faster because I have a mother. She's on the internet. She's a lovely lady. She's very smart. She's going to click on one of these things, and it's going to, and God knows what next. There goes my inheritance. That's not my focus.
I have a family member who fell for one of the gift card scams. She bought the cards and she did not quite give it to them. That's where but it was a call from Amazon to say, hey, we didn't get your payment. You need to make this payment. And then it was on to gift cards, and that was when the red flag finally went off. But yeah, it can happen to anybody, unfortunately. And they're preying on the elderly who are not technically savvy. It's
just amazing. Security, here's the thing, and it's easy to discount that the internet can hurt us because we're so comfortable with it. It's right in our home. It's, here I am. I'm in my office in the basement of my home. Well, I'm safe. Nobody's going to come in and point a gun to my head and say, give me your money. Well, they could on the internet. And so we always need to be aware of those things. Well, James, this has been great. You've shared some awesome information today. I love all the specific stuff that you've shared. Where can people track you down? And so what kind of people do you want reaching out to you, right? What is it that you solve, and where can they find you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm happy to answer any questions, first of all. So any cybersecurity related questions, I want to help organizations, people be more secure. So ask away. Easiest way to reach me is executech.com/cast, C-A-S-T. We set up a special website just for programs like this.
Awesome. Well, that is sweet. Well, there it is on the screen, folks. Please reach out to James. You can see, and you know what? I totally 100% believe in the tip of the iceberg theory. Is it a theory? It's not a theory, is it? That, we scratched the surface. So you got to see the tip of the iceberg. James has so much more information that he could share and help you with. So please reach out to him. You can see that he's easy to talk to. He knows how to put things in a perspective that it's easy for us neophytes to understand. So be sure you reach out to him. James, thank you so much for joining us today. You were a great guest.
It's been my sincere pleasure, Mark. I appreciate it. And I appreciate your mission. Thanks for what you do out there, man.
Oh, you bet, man. Thank you. So, folks, we love that you're here watching another episode of How's Your EPresence? Our website, our company website, epresence.me. That's epresence.me because it's all about you. What do we do at EPresence? We help you with social media. If you're a company, if you're an individual, we help you. We get you active. We can take care of all this stuff on social because some of you don't have the technology background where it's easy, or you just don't have the time. Whatever your challenge is on social, or it's just not working for you, give us a buzz. We can help you. If you don't want us to do it for you, that's cool. We have a consulting service. We also have training. So we can help you in a number of different ways. If you would like to take advantage of our offerings just by being a listener/watcher of our show, you can go to the link that's going to be on the screen here, e-pr.me/listener. So e-pr is short for ePresence, e-pr.me/listener. Click there. We'll give you a 5% discount just by watching the show. Hey, ain't that cool? Another reason why you should watch this show. How's Your EPresence is everywhere. We are on YouTube. I got my icons here. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. It's so great that they're all right there on the screen because we're so many places. It's easy to keep track. Wherever you're watching, please subscribe. Please follow. our site there, because that way you'll know when we go live and you can join the show. If you're a podcast listener, we drop all of our shows as a podcast. Just go to our website, epresence.me/podcast, and you can find all the places, there it is on the screen, all the places that we drop our content. And honestly, it's everywhere. If you see a podcast site that we're not on, let me know. You can shoot us a message right on our website. There's a communications tab there. We'll go in and jump on that site also. This show is produced by Morgan Wood. We love all the work that Morgan does for us. And not only does she produce this show, she also handles a number of our clients and does a lot of strategy sessions for ePresence as a whole. So we appreciate the work that she does. Until next time, for my guest, James Fair, I am Mark Galvin, and this has been How's Your ePresence?